Greetings, Darklings. Welcome back to Reading in the Dark. My name is Byron, and I read sometimes. Well, today is Halloween 2022. Anyway, if you're watching this video in the future, obviously it might not actually be. Anyway, today, for me, in the world of this video, I thought I would put together kind of a special post-Halloween episode, sort of like a Halloween post-mortem, if you will. So in this video, I'm going to talk about and show you my process of decorating my house for Halloween. I'm going to take you to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando and show you some of the footage that I got there. Talk about my Halloween party, which I throw every year, but have not been able to throw for the last 2 years because of the pandemic. Talk about some of my favorite scary movies, and then leave you with a reading update. There's like a noise happening because I have these beads on my hand, which is probably very annoying, so maybe I'll just take this off. I am I am an October baby. I was born on October 5th of a year. Halloween is the best. Halloween is the greatest. I start decorating my house in September. I remember when I was a little kid, we had these like Jack and Jill bathrooms upstairs that the kids all shared. And I very often in the middle of summer would like get out all the Halloween decorations and convert them into a haunted house, because that's who I am as a person. But enough of all this chat. I think it's time to get this house decorated. So basically, I have these 3 big plastic bins of Halloween crap in my garage, next to the like 1,200 bins of Christmas crap in the garage, which I pull out and just basically allow it to vomit itself all over the house. And it goes something like this. Well. I'm about to decorate the house for Halloween. The emotions are running high. I'm very excited. I'm going to make another cup of coffee. I'm gonna clean the house a little bit. While I'm cleaning, I'm gonna put on like the History Channel History of Halloween. And then, you know what? Let's just make coffee first, and then we'll get to the rest. Target used to sell these really cool flickering orange lights. They still sell the orange lights, but not the flickering version of them. They still sell the regular ones, they just don't flicker. So I have a whole bunch of the ones that they used to sell that actually flicker, like kind of like candlelight. So I put those orange lights all around the like main room of my house along the ceiling. And this year I decided to be super extra and hang up these tiny little hooks. I'm going like this because you screw them in, so that it would be easier to hang the lights every year now because they're there. I will probably do the same thing with regular white lights for Christmas. So the decorating it's a problem. I love the ritual of decorating my house for Halloween. I love how all of the stuff that I have, I don't see it for a year or 9-10 months, and then I pull it out of a box and I say, oh yeah, that jaunty little skeleton guy with the hat. And I put it where I've always had it every year, or sometimes I say, hey, you know what? Maybe he's gonna go over here instead. I don't know. I just enjoy it. I think it's really fun. Tradition is important to me. So I love decorating. I also kind of love de-decorating, but we're not there yet. So now that everything is up, let's take a tour, shall we? Cue the music, spooky band leader man. There's no one there. Just saying that. So then once the house was totally decorated for Halloween, I felt like, okay, it's officially Halloween season. I can think spooky thoughts and not feel like I'm the only one. So then it was time for one of my absolute favorite spooky season activities, which was to go to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando Resort. If you have not been to Halloween Horror Nights, basically it's like every theme park has like, they convert the park late at night into like a Halloween situation. The Halloween Horror Nights thing at Universal is probably the most adult. Its intent is to actually scare the shit out of you. It's sort of like descending into hell. It's very dark. There's fog everywhere, loud music and people screaming, and they have all these scare zones and like scare actors or scare actors that jump out at you. They come at you with fake chainsaws that make a loud chainsaw noise. There's fog everywhere and spooky music. They had a really actually kind of cool projection laser show on the water with these like water screens this year until the hurricane came and destroyed it. Oh, also there's a crazy show with fire and contortionists and dancers. It's a good time. And then they had 10, count it 10, haunted houses. Anyway, so I love Halloween Horror Nights. I've heard some people really don't like it and they think it's stressful. I guess that's fair. I fucking love it. This year, it seems like maybe we will not be going again. We have tickets to see a friend in Hamilton tomorrow. From that Halloween party to another slightly smaller Halloween party, something else that I do every October that I just did a couple of days ago was throw a Halloween party here at the house. Been doing this ever since I moved into the house in 2017. And I was really sad to have to cancel it 2 years ago because of the pandemic. And then last year, again, we started thinking about doing it, but then seemed like the numbers were going back up again and we weren't comfortable, so then we didn't do it last year either. So this year finally was the 4th year of the Halloween party. Had a really, really good time. Now, we, as a couple, went overboard in terms of like the themed cocktails and all of the food. This year the theme was American Horror Story, which hence this hair. I did go as a character from American Horror Story. Season 5 hotel, if you can tell who I was, then write it in the comments, I guess. We made like a step and repeat with like this camera, and it was like all set up with this ring light, and like everybody took these like fancy photos that I need to go through later and post on the Facebook group. It was a really good time. I wanted to talk about some of my favorite scary movies. Also, Coke Zero, good for you. The first movie I always watch every Halloween season, and I usually turn it on right as I start decorating, is the original Candyman, and that's all. 1992, starring Virginia Madsen. The Candyman, a murderous soul with a hook for a hand, is accidentally summoned to reality by a skeptical grad student researching the monster's myth. Yeah, I have a weird relationship with this movie. First time I saw it, I felt like it was really racist. I thought, this is about... this movie really is, like, it does talk about class and it does talk about race. And it can be a little cringy. It's also kind of silly and ridiculous. She's it's a little, it makes me feel awkward. It's kind of... But I have since learned that a lot of people that I thought would have been offended by this movie actually think it's great and kind of, like, shines a light on exactly the issues that it was making me feel that it was contributing to. So it's I guess it's kind of polarizing. It features this unnecessarily great score by Philip Glass, and I think that Virginia Madsen in this movie looks uncannily like Gillian Anderson the entire time. And I usually put that one on first while I'm decorating, just simply because it's become tradition, but I also just don't love it. So I get it out of the way, but I don't have to sit down and pay close attention to it because I'm busy doing other things. Another movie that I watched that I love is What Lies Beneath, which is a Robert Zemeckis movie starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford. They play a married couple. Diana Scarwood plays one of her best friends. It is really beautifully shot. It takes place in this beautiful house on a lake. They're a happy married couple. They've got a dog. They've got a daughter who's going off to college. And there's some sort of dark, seedy history about a car accident that Michelle Pfeiffer had. Her husband is a very fancy scientist guy. They go to a party at a house hosted by an old woman played by Pat Hitchcock, who was Alfred Hitchcock's daughter. She's actually in Psycho. She's the one who works in the office with Marion. She's very good in that little role, too, actually. This movie has great music. You will hear the score to this movie in several episodes of American Horror Story and probably elsewhere as well, composed by Alan Silvestri, who always works with Robert Zemeckis. He also composed the music for Back to the Future. It's got a great twist. I think most people know what the twist is, and the trailers kind of ruined it, actually, too. If you haven't seen it and you're interested, don't watch a trailer. Just watch the movie. I think it's great. And that's all. What lies beneath? It's great. End quote. I also love to watch the others. Alejandro Amenabar. He wrote the movie, he directed the movie, and he composed the score. So he had like demos of the score ready that he played for the cast on the set. How cool is that? Like, Nicole Kidman was like, okay, I totally get the vibe, because you're literally playing me the score and we're in the middle of filming the movie. I think that's so cool. A woman who lives in her darkened old family house with her 2 photosensitive children becomes convinced that the home is haunted. It also guest stars Fiona Flanagan, who is on many episodes of Murder, She Wrote. She's this just beautiful, fabulous Irish lady with this beautiful Irish accent. These housekeepers show up on a very, very foggy morning looking for a job that Nicole Kidman had just submitted to the newspaper, and she's surprised that they're already there, and they're like, yeah, we're looking for a job, and she's like, great, she hires them. Oh my gosh, and she's very religious, and she's teaching her kids about purgatory and limbo and everything, and the kids are so cute. One of them is a little sassy. They are very pale because they're very photosensitive. They can't be exposed to direct sunlight or their skin will like burn. Apparently this is a real thing. I remember when the movie came out hearing about it. So she has these like really thick, like velvet, like light blocking curtains on every single window, and the whole house is really, really dark, and she has to light candles everywhere, and she keeps a ring of keys on her person at all times to lock every door in the house behind her when she goes through it. You unlock a door, you walk through the door, you close the door, and you lock it. So that she can absolutely control the flow of light through the house to make sure there's no chance of her kids accidentally being exposed to sunlight and getting sick. It's like medically enforced creepiness, which is awesome. This movie is so fucking good. The pacing, it's very like luxurious, it's tense, and it's like, it is really creepy. Christopher Eccleston shows up at one point. Again, don't Google this movie if you haven't seen it, just watch it. It is so good. I also really like the score to this movie. I wonder if that's like a barrier to entry for me to love a movie. It has to have a great score. Candyman, What Lies Beneath, the others. Maybe. I also like to watch The Omen. Basically, it's about a couple that can't get pregnant, or they do get pregnant, and the night of the delivery, the baby is, I think, stillborn. And the priests ask the father, who is a highly placed sort of ambassador guy, to take this other baby and just pass it off as his child. And for some reason, he agrees to do this. And of course, it turns out that this baby, who they have taken as their own, is the Antichrist. So you can't win them all. Bad things happen. The Antichrist is not a nice child. Starring Gregory Peck and Lee Remick. Oh, and David Warner. He's in a lot of Star Trek. And the score won an Academy Award for Jerry Goldsmith, one of my favorite composers. Omen. Very, very good. 1976. Super great. And I do love some religious horror. Now we're getting to the big heavy hitters. Okay, this title's going to come back around in a couple of minutes. The Exorcist. 1973, The Exorcist, based on William Peter Blatty's novel, which I'm currently listening to the audiobook of, directed by William Friedkin. It's getting some sequels soon, or requels as they call it, where it's kind of like a reboot, but it's technically a sequel, but you're kind of doing the same thing again. Sounds like a requel, but I guess we don't really know that. The Metascore is 81. The IMDb score is 8.1. So honestly, people pretty much all agree. This is just a good movie. Now, some people will tell you it's not that scary, and depending on your taste or your faith, or lack thereof, or whatever, you may or may not find it scary. That's kind of not the point. This movie was made in 1973. Some of the scenes might seem silly to people, to a modern audience, but a lot of them will not, and it's just a great film. I really like the extended edition, too, the one that starts in the at the archaeological dig. But it takes place mainly in this house in Georgetown that is a rental, where this famous American actress is staying temporarily with her daughter, who I think is like 9 years old or whatever, named Regan, Regan. And she's, making this film in the DC area, so they have put her up in this beautiful house in Georgetown. And while she's there, her daughter potentially becomes possessed by a demon, and they end up needing the services of an exorcist, played by Max von Sydow, who is also really, really good in What Dreams May Come, which is a Robin Williams movie from way later. Linda Blair, iconic as Regan. This movie has also a great score, and I am really, really liking the book. But I'll get to that in just a second. The last movie that's on my list is the obvious one, John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance. It's really low budget and maybe a little silly, again, to a modern audience, but it's just charming, and it's a slasher movie. It sort of started a whole thing. Another really great quote. It started a whole thing. Byron. I love this movie. I love the music. I love the atmosphere of it. I love that time period, and I like the clothes and the hair and the silly camaraderie between the girls and the babysitting. I love the idea of the boogeyman and how he can't be killed because that danger is always there. I love how cheaply made it is. I love the fact that it's supposed to be set on Halloween and there's just like bright green leaves in all of the trees, but there's like some like extra dry autumn leaves on the ground that they like dumped out of a bag before they made the movie. I love everything about this movie, and I know way too much about it. I love it so much that I save it for October 31st. I will not watch it the rest of the year. I won't let myself do it. I make myself wait. I have some of my closest friends over, like 2 or 3 people, and in between going to the door to give candy to kids, watch Halloween 1978. All right, so now my foot is asleep. Woo! Oh, I sat with my foot folded underneath my body for too long. All right, we have now come to the topic that is ostensibly the whole purpose of this channel, which is for me to talk about books. So I have already completed 3 of the books on my list for October. I finished Murder, She Wrote number 13, Knock 'em Dead. Knock 'em Dead, in case you couldn't tell. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. It's Murder, She Wrote. It's charming and sweet, but it's set in and around like the backstage goings-on of a Broadway play. And I spent my entire life as a professional in the theater, so it was a little not correct, and took me out of the book a lot. Let's just move on. I also finished Murder, She Wrote number 14, Trick or Treachery. It was 5 stars. It's the first Murder, She Wrote book I've given 5 stars. Yes, it's charming. Yes, it's simple and just cozy, and the Halloween vibes are there. I really liked the mystery. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was all about people being unfair to somebody because they were different, and Jessica being the good guy who was like, no, don't do that. I thought it was great. I fucking loved it. And then I also finished reading The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, the classic, which I'd never read, ever in my life. I was supposed to read it in high school. I kind of faked my way through all of those conversations in class and some probably timed writing or book report or whatever, and somehow didn't, fail because I was like clever enough to get away with it, but didn't actually read it. Absolutely loved The Scarlet Letter. Now, I am less than an hour away from being finished listening to the audiobook of The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, read by the author, William Peter Blatty. It's a fantastic audiobook, first of all. He's a great actor, and the book is beautiful. I mean, beautiful. It's beautifully written. The conflict between skepticism and faith, the sort of crises of faith that various characters in the book have, and the ferocity of the demonic stuff in the book, honestly, puts the movie to shame. I thought the movie couldn't possibly be bested in the oh my god department. The book is worse, okay? The book is even more intense. There are things that are described in this book that I was like, oh my. It takes a lot to sort of shock me or make me blush. And I was driving home from work listening to this going, oh my god. I hope we don't get stopped in traffic and that nobody like hears what's being said over the speakers of my car right now, because they will be concerned for me if that happens. If you're squeamish, just don't. But if you love, honestly, the book is so fucking good. If you love horror, I can't recommend it enough. I haven't finished it yet, but there's no way it's not going to end great. It's excellent. It's going to be 5 stars, I'm sure. So that's where my reading sits right now. This is not a wrap-up. I will talk about all those books in more detail when I get to the September-October wrap-up, which will come out sometime in the early part of November. Oh, my hair, by the way, is probably going to go back to being silver, I think. I love how a portion of all my videos is now just me talking about my hair, because I don't know what's going on. I'm doing a Christmas show that's like the Nativity. I don't really think this is appropriate for that. So I'm going to at least set it back to silver. And then when that show opens, I might actually just shave my head and let it be back to looking more natural for the Jesus. And then we'll see. I was actually thinking like dark brown next, but that wouldn't probably happen until sometime in January. So that's my hair update for you, which has become a tradition of this channel now, which is very odd. Anyway, thank you once again so much for watching this video. I've got to stop filming or I'm gonna have way too much to edit. I love you all. Thank you for watching. I can make posts now on YouTube for some reason, so look forward to those. You might see them in your feed. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. And if you have any other suggestions for me, I'm gonna continue reading spooky things for the rest of my life, including November, so like, bring them my way. The comment box is your friend. Happy Halloween, happy spooky season. Please be safe. And until next time, I will be here in the dark, reading